Hey, so tonight we're going to journey back in time, not to the gleaming marble temples of Rome, but to the muddy, windswept frontiers of the empire. We'll be exploring the real life of a Roman legionary, stripping away the polished armor of Hollywood movies to find the harsh, exhausting, and monotonous reality that lay beneath. It was a life of incredible discipline and hardship, one that makes our modern challenges seem very small indeed. Oh, and if you're enjoying these stories, I'd really appreciate a like or subscribe. Super curious where you're all listening from, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. It's always amazing to see this quiet community listening together from all corners of the globe. Alright, find your comfortable spot. Let your head sink into your pillow and feel the weight of your body being completely supported. Take a slow, deep breath and let it go. We are heading back to the 2nd century AD, to a world of iron, leather, and relentless routine. And you will be very, very grateful for your soft bed by the time our story is done. So, congratulations, you have woken up. Not to the gentle light of morning filtering through your curtains, but to the jarring, brazen blast of a trumpet, the bacchina tearing through the cold, damp air of dawn. This is your alarm clock, and it has no snooze button. The surface beneath you is not a mattress, but a thin pallet of packed straw resting on unyielding wooden planks. You are in your designated sleeping space within a quintubernium, an 8-man barrack room that is your entire world. The room is impossibly cramped. You can smell the stale breath of the man sleeping beside you, feel the warmth of his body just inches from yours. The air is a thick soup of odors, damp wool, oiled leather, sweat, wood smoke, and the faint, musty smell of 7 other unwashed men. Privacy is a concept that does not exist here. Your body aches with a deep, familiar weariness. A dull pain throbs in your lower back from yesterday's labor, and your feet are tender from the constant marching. You are Gaius, a tyro, a fresh recruit from a small farm in Gaul. You traded a life of rural poverty for the promise of a steady wage, Roman citizenship, and a piece of land at the end of 25 years of service, a quarter of a century. Looking out from this cold, dark morning, it feels like an eternity. The first order of business is to dress, a process that is less about comfort and more about assembling a suit of functional, heavy equipment. You start with a tunica, a coarse, knee-length woolen tunic. The fabric is rough against your skin, a constant, low-level irritation. Over this goes the most iconic piece of your gear, the lorica segmentata. It is not a single piece of armor, but a series of overlapping iron plates held together by a complex system of internal leather straps. It is heavy, cumbersome, and impossible to put on by yourself. One of your tent mates, a grizzled veteran named Marcus, helps you, pulling the straps tight with practiced efficiency. The weight settles on your shoulders, a familiar burden you will carry all day. Next are your boots, the caligae. These are not boots in the modern sense, but heavy leather sandals with thick soles studded with iron hobnails. The open design is good for preventing trench foot in damp climates, but the hobnails offer no cushioning. Every step on hard ground sends a small shock up your legs. You've learned, like all the other soldiers, to wrap your feet in strips of linen fasci to prevent the worst of the blisters. It's a small measure of relief in a life that offers few. You buckle on your military belt, the beltaeus. From it hangs your primary weapon, the gladius, a short, double-edged sword designed for stabbing, not slashing. Its weight against your hip is a constant reminder of your purpose. You gather the rest of your combat gear, the large curved shield called the scutum, and your helmet, the galea, but you are not ready yet. Before you leave the barrack, you must hoist your marching pack, the sarcena, onto your shoulder. This is the true test of a legionary's endurance. It's a heavy wooden pole, shaped like a T, from which hangs everything you own and need to survive on the march. There is your personal kit, a spare tunic, a wool cloak for cold nights, a cooking pot, a small cup, and your rations. but the majority of the weight is your share of the unit's equipment, a shovel or a pickaxe, a hand mill for grinding grain, and two heavy, sharpened wooden stakes used to build a defensive wall around the camp each night. The total weight of everything you are now wearing and carrying is close to 100 pounds. Your breathing is slow and peaceful now, your body feeling wonderfully light as you imagine the immense weight borne by the Roman soldier. Each breath is an easy release. Breakfast is a brief, functional affair. You and your 7 tent mates, your contubernails, gather outside. There is no dining hall for common soldiers. You eat standing up or sitting on the cold ground. The meal is the same as yesterday and the day before that. You break off a piece of panis militaris, a rock-hard biscuit of twice-baked bread designed to last for weeks without spoiling. You dip it into your cup of posca, the sour wine vinegar mixed with water that is the standard drink of the army. The acidity of the posca helps kill some of the bacteria in questionable water sources, and it quenches thirst, but it does little to improve the taste of the hard bread. You eat quickly without pleasure. Food is fuel, nothing more. The trumpets sound again. It is time for morning assembly in the center of the camp. You fall into your precise place in the formation of your century. 80 men standing in 10 ranks of 8. Your centurion, a man named Longinus, stands before you. He is a terrifying figure to a new recruit, a career soldier who has fought in a dozen campaigns. He carries his vitus, the vine staff that is his symbol of rank and his instrument of discipline. He has used it on your back more than once for minor infractions, a sharp, stinging lesson in the importance of obedience. The day's orders are read out. There is no battle today. No glorious march against the enemy. Today, like most days, is about labor. Your cohort has been tasked with expanding the fort's ditch system. For the next 10 to 12 hours, you'll be a digger, a construction worker, an earth mover. The Roman army was the greatest engineering force of the ancient world, and that engineering was done by the hands of soldiers like you. The work is brutal and monotonous. You are marched to a section of the fort's perimeter and handed a shovel. The ground is hard, frozen in the upper layers. You dig, your breath misting in the cold air. The repetitive motion of lifting and throwing dirt becomes a kind of rhythm. You work in a line with other men, a human machine digging a massive trench. The centurion and his optio patrol the line, their presence ensuring that no one slows down. A sharp word from Longinus is usually enough to spur a tired man on. If not, the visit is always ready. There is no thought of glory here, no dream of conquest. There is only the biting cold, the ache in your back, the burning of your muscles, and the endless mountain of earth that needs to be moved. You focus on the small things, the rhythm of your digging, the steady breathing of the man next to you, the promise of the evening meal. As you rest in your bed, your own muscles feel loose and comfortable, melting into the softness of your mattress. There is no strain, no cold, no harsh discipline. Only the gentle, quiet peace of your own comfortable space. Lunch is a piece of bread and some cheese, eaten quickly while standing in the ditch you have been digging. There is no break, no rest. You eat, you drink some posca, and you get back to work. By the time the trumpets sound at the end of the workday, the sun is low in the sky. You are caked in mud and sweat, and every fiber of your being aches with a profound weariness. You shoulder your shovel and march back to the barracks, your steps heavy with fatigue, but your day is not over. The evening is a routine of maintenance. Your armor must be meticulously cleaned. Any mud or moisture can lead to rust, and rust can mean a weakness that could cost you your life in battle. You take your lorica segmentata apart, wiping down each metal plate with an oily rag. You check the leather straps for any signs of wear. You clean your gladius and apply a thin coat of oil to the blade. Then it is time to prepare the evening meal, the main meal of the day. The duty rotates through the contubernium. Tonight, it is your turn to help grind the grain. You and Quintus take your places at the small, heavy hand mill. You pour in the day's ration of hard wheat kernels and begin to turn the top stone. It's a slow, grueling process. The stones grate against each other, and your arms and shoulders, already tired from a day of digging, burn with the effort. It takes nearly an hour of constant work to produce enough coarse flour for 8 men. While you grind, others prepare the pulls, the thick porridge of boiled grain that is the staple of your diet. Tonight, someone has added some dried herbs and a piece of salted pork, a welcome addition of flavor. You eat your portion greedily from your wooden bowl, the hot food a comfort after a long, cold day. There's little conversation. The shared exhaustion leaves no room for anything but the essential tasks of survival. After the meal, you clean your bowl and prepare your sleeping pallet. Some men might sit for a while, mending their tunics or gambling with dice carved from bone, their voices a low murmur in the dark. But you are too tired for any of it. You crawl under your rough wool cloak, the closest thing you have to a blanket. The 8 of you are packed into the small room, a tangle of sleeping bodies. The air is thick and close. You can hear every cough, every sigh, every muttered word from a troubled dream. As you lie there in the darkness, you think about the iron discipline that structures your world. It is a discipline designed to turn men from different lands and different backgrounds into a single, unified fighting force. It is a discipline enforced with casual brutality. You have seen a man flogged for falling asleep on watch. You have heard stories of decimation where 1 in every 10 men in a disgraced unit is executed by his own comrades. The fear of such punishment is a powerful motivator. It ensures that you will always follow orders, that you will never desert your post, that you will stand your ground in battle, even when your instincts scream at you to run. But it also forges a powerful bond with the men around you. You are all in this together, sharing the same hardships, facing the same dangers. Your survival depends on them, and theirs depends on you. Your breathing is slow and deep now. The world of Roman discipline fades, replaced by the profound peace of your own safe room. You feel the gentle weight of your blankets, a comforting pressure that grounds you in the present moment. Let us imagine time has passed. You are no longer Gaius the Tyro. You have survived your initial training. You have endured years of labor and marching. You have seen your first battle. You are now a seasoned legionary, stationed at a permanent fortress in a distant province, perhaps on the edge of the great Syrian desert. The heat here is as relentless an enemy as the cold was in Germania. The sun beats down from a white, cloudless sky. The air is dry and dusty, and it irritates your throat and lungs. Your armor feels like an oven, the metal plates scorching hot to the touch. Life here is a different kind of monotony. Your primary duty is to patrol the trade routes, protecting caravans from desert raiders. You march for days through a landscape of rock and sand. The world is a shimmering haze of heat. Water is more precious than gold. You carry it in a leather water skin, and you drink it in small, measured sips. To run out of water in this landscape is a death sentence. One day, your patrol stumbles upon the ruins of an old settlement, long abandoned. The mud brick walls have crumbled, and sand has drifted through the empty doorways. Your centurion allows you to explore. You walk through the silent streets, your sandals crunching on the sun-baked earth. You find a small, carved stone, an image of a forgotten god with the head of a jackal. You feel the immense weight of time in this place, the sense of civilizations rising and falling like waves in the desert sand. Your own Roman Empire, which seems so powerful and eternal, is just another chapter in this long, long story. The thought is both humbling and strangely comforting. Your own struggles, your own fears, seem small in the face of such vastness, such antiquity. Your body relaxes further, sinking into the soft support of your bed. The desert heat is just a memory, the sun a distant story. There's only the cool, quiet darkness of your room. Let's consider the health of a soldier. The Roman army, for all its brutality, understood the importance of keeping its soldiers healthy. The valetudinarium, the military hospital, was a standard feature in every permanent fort. It was run by a staff of medici who were highly skilled for their time. Imagine you have taken a deep cut to your arm during weapons training. The wound is bleeding freely. You are taken to the valetudinarium. The hospital is a clean, well-organized space. You are laid on a wooden table. A medicus cleans the wound with vinegar, its sharp sting making you wince. He then examines it carefully. It will need stitches, he says calmly. He takes a fine, curved bronze needle and a thread made of clean sinew. He works with a steady hand, his movements precise. You watch, fascinated and horrified, as he sews your flesh back together. There's no anesthetic, only a cup of wine to steady your nerves. The pain is a sharp, clean fire. When he is done, he applies a poultice of herbs and honey and binds your arm with clean linen bandages. You will be excused from duty for 3 days, he tells you. Keep the wound clean. If a fever comes, return immediately. The fever is the real danger, infection. In a world without antibiotics, even a minor wound could be fatal. You spend the next few days in a state of anxious waiting, constantly checking your temperature, looking for telltale signs of redness and swelling around the wound. You are lucky. The wound heals cleanly, leaving only a thin, pale scar, another mark to add to the growing collection on your body. Your own body feels so comfortable, so at ease. Your breathing is deep and regular. You are so far from the dangers of the ancient world. You are safe. You are at peace. You are drifting gently towards sleep. Let's think about the end of the journey. 25 years. A lifetime. You have marched thousands of miles, fought in a dozen battles, built countless forts and roads. You have seen friends die, emperors rise and fall. You are no longer the young, naive farm boy from Gaul. You are a veteran, a man of status and experience. Your face is leathery from years of sun and wind. Your body scarred and hardened out the day of your discharge. Your honus demisio is a formal ceremony. You stand before the Legion's commander one last time. He presents you with your military diploma, a bronze tablet that lists your accomplishments and officially grants you Roman citizenship. You are also given your severance pay, a lump sum of 3,000 denarii, a small fortune that represents your life savings. You are now free. But freedom is a strange and disorienting feeling after a lifetime of discipline and routine. You travel to the plot of land you have been granted, perhaps in a quiet valley in southern Britannia. You build a small farmhouse using the construction, skills you learned in the army. You buy some livestock, some tools. You begin the life of a farmer, the life your father lived, but you are not the same man who left that farm so long ago. You have seen the world. You have known both the horrors of war and the pride of creation. You are a citizen of the greatest empire the world has ever known. Your neighbors are other veterans, men who share your experiences, who understand the ghosts that sometimes haunt your dreams. You marry a local woman, and you have children. You teach your son how to farm, but you also teach him to read and to understand the workings of the empire. You tell him stories, not of glorious battles, but of the camaraderie of the contubernium, of the pride of building a bridge across a great river, of the quiet satisfaction of a watch well-kept dot as you grow old. You sometimes walk to the top of a nearby hill and look out over the peaceful green landscape. You think about your long journey, about the hardships and the sacrifices, and you feel a sense of profound peace. You have done your duty. You have served the empire, and you have built a life for yourself and your family. The story of Gaius, the Roman soldier, is complete. It is a story of hardship, of discipline, of endurance, but it is also a story of purpose, of camaraderie, of creation. It is the story of the men who built an empire with their hands and defended it with their lives. Now let that story go. Let the images of the forts, the frontiers, the battles all fade away. They are just shadows from a distant past. Your own reality is here in this quiet, comfortable room. Your breathing is the only thing that matters now. A slow, gentle rhythm. Inhale, a soft wave of peace. Exhale, a complete release of all tension. Your body is heavy, warm, and completely relaxed. Your mind is quiet, still, and free. You are sinking deeper and deeper into a perfect restorative sleep. There is nothing to do, nothing to think about. Just the gentle, peaceful darkness. Sleep now. Sleep well. Of course. Let us continue this story, sinking even deeper into the world of the Roman soldier. Here are an additional 15,000 words to extend the journey, providing a rich, detailed, and deeply calming experience perfect for a long night's rest. And so, you rest. The story of Gaius, from the fresh-faced recruit to the settled veteran, has been told. His personal journey is complete, but the world that shaped him, the intricate and relentless machine of the Roman legion, holds yet more stories, more details, more quiet realities to explore. As you lie in the perfect comfort of your bed, feeling safe and secure, let your mind drift back once more. Not to follow a single man, but to walk the paths of his world, to feel the very stone and timber of the place he called home for 25 years. Let us explore the anatomy of a Roman fort, the beating heart of the frontier. Imagine yourself standing on a low hill, looking down at a permanent fortress on the Rhine frontier, perhaps in the late afternoon. This is not the temporary marching camp you built each night on campaign, a structure of earth and wood designed to last a single night. This is a permanent bastion of Roman power, a city in miniature, built to stand for decades, even centuries. The fort is a perfect rectangle, its layout a testament to the Roman obsession with order and geometry. It is surrounded by a formidable system of defenses. First, you see the ditches, the fossae. There isn't just one, but often 3 or 4 running parallel to the main wall. They are deep, V-shaped trenches designed not just to stop an attacker, but to break the momentum of a charge, to create a chaotic killing ground for the defenders on the wall. The earth dug from these ditches has been used to create a large earthen rampart, the agger upon which the main wall is built. The wall itself, the vallum, is a marvel in military engineering. In a newer fort like this one, it is made of stone, a facing of carefully cut rectangular blocks with a core of rubble and mortar. It stands nearly 20 feet high, too tall to be scaled easily with ladders. At regular intervals along the wall, stone towers rise even higher, providing platforms for archers and scorpion artillery small catapults that could fire heavy bolts with deadly accuracy. At the very top of the wall is a crenellated walkway, the battlement, where sentries pace back and forth, their figures small silhouettes against the sky. Your breathing is slow and even a peaceful rhythm. You feel grounded and secure, a world away from the harsh realities of a frontier fortress. There are 4 main gates, one on each side of the rectangular fort. The main gate, the Porta Praetoria, faces the direction of the enemy. The gate at the rear is the Porta Decumana. The 2 side gates are the Porta Principalis dextra, right, and sinistra, left. These are not simple openings in the wall. They are complex structures in themselves, flanked by 2 massive stone towers. The gates are made of thick, iron-bound wood, and they lead into a small, enclosed courtyard, a killing box. If attackers were to breach the outer gate, they would find themselves trapped in this small space, fired upon by archers from the walls of the courtyard on all sides. It is a simple, brutally effective design. Let us drift now, like a silent observer, through the Porta Praetoria and into the fort itself. The moment you pass through the gate, you are struck by the order, the rigid geometry of the layout. Every Roman fort, whether in the deserts of Syria or the forests of Germania, followed the same basic plan. This standardization was a key to Roman efficiency. A soldier could be transferred from one end of the empire to the other and would instantly know the layout of his new home. The main street, the Via Praetoria, runs from the front gate directly to the heart of the camp, the headquarters building, the Principia. This is the administrative and spiritual center of the legion. It is a large, impressive building fronted by a colonnaded courtyard. Here, soldiers would gather for daily orders. The air would be filled with the murmur of voices, the clink of armor, the shouts of centurions. But now, in the late afternoon, it is quiet. You cross the open courtyard and enter the cross hall, a long, wide basilica that runs the width of the building. This space was used for indoor assemblies during bad weather, and it also served as a kind of courtroom where the legion's commander would dispense justice. At one end, there is a raised platform, the tribunal, where the commander would sit. You can almost hear the echoes of past judgments, the pleas of accused soldiers, the stern pronouncements of military law. Behind the cross hall lies the most sacred part of the entire fort, the Cecellum, or the Chapel of the Standards. This is a small, strong room built of stone. Inside, housed in a magnificent shrine, is the legion's soul, its aquila, the silver eagle. The eagle is not just a symbol. It is considered a divine object, the physical embodiment of the legion's honor and its connection to the god Jupiter. The soldier chosen to carry it into battle, the aquilifer, holds a position of immense honor and responsibility. To lose the eagle is the ultimate disgrace, a shame that could lead to the disbandment of an entire legion. Also in the shrine are the standards, the signa for each century, decorated with silver discs and medallions representing the unit's battle honors. These are not just flags. They are objects of intense veneration. Your shoulders relax, your body feeling heavy and comfortable. The weight of such sacred duties feels very far away. There is only the gentle weight of your blankets, the soft support of your bed. On either side of the chapel are the administrative offices, the officia. Here, in these small, cramped rooms, the real work of running the legion takes place. Clerks, scribes, and quartermasters work tirelessly, their styluses scratching away on wax tablets or their pens moving across sheets of papyrus. They track payroll, manage supply requisitions, record duty rosters, write official reports, and handle the mountain of paperwork required to keep a 5,000-man fighting force functioning. The Roman Empire was built as much on meticulous record-keeping as it was on the strength of its legions. Let's leave the bustling headquarters and turn to the building next to it, the Praetorium. This is the personal residence of the legions, Commander the Legatus, and it is a world away from the cramped barracks of the common soldier. The Praetorium is essentially a luxurious Roman villa. Transported to the frontier, you step through the entrance into a beautiful open-air courtyard with a small garden and a fountain at its center. Rooms open onto this courtyard on all four sides. There are private bedrooms, a formal dining room, a kitchen, and even a private bath suite. The floors in the main rooms are decorated with intricate mosaics, beautiful patterns made from tiny colored stones. The walls are covered and painted. Frescoes depicting scenes from Greek mythology or idyllic landscapes. The most remarkable feature is the heating system. Beneath the stone floors is a hypocaust, a Roman system of central heating. A furnace, tended by slaves, pumps hot air into the open space beneath the floors, which are supported by small pillars of brick. The hot air circulates, warming the floor and the rooms above. In the bitter cold of a German winter, this level of comfort is an unimaginable luxury. a statement of the vast gulf that separates the life of a high-ranking officer from that of an ordinary soldier like Gaius. Your breathing is slow and deep. The warmth of your own bed is a simple, profound comfort. You feel yourself sinking deeper into this warmth, letting go of all tension. All that dot next to the commander's opulent house stand the Horia, the granaries. These are some of the most important and well-designed buildings in the fort. There are usually two of them, large, long, rectangular buildings made of stone. Their design is purely functional, built to keep the Legion's grain supply safe and dry. You notice the walls are incredibly thick and are supported by external buttresses. This is to withstand the immense outward pressure of the tons of grain. STORED inside. You see that the floor is raised off the ground by a series of low stone pillars, creating a space for air to circulate underneath. This ventilation system is crucial for preventing the grain from becoming damp and moldy. The granaries have large, shuttered openings high up on the walls, also for ventilation, and wide doorways to make loading and unloading the heavy sacks of grain easier. Inside, the air is cool and dry, with a dusty, earthy smell of stored wheat. The sheer amount of grain is staggering. This is the Legion's lifeblood, the fuel that powers the military machine. A Legion on campaign consumed several tons of grain every single day. Maintaining a sufficient reserve was a matter of constant concern for the camp's quartermasters. You can almost feel the quiet, immense responsibility of this place, the potential energy stored within these silent walls. From the granaries, we move to another critical building, the valetudinarium, the military hospital. It is a large, rectangular building centered around a quiet courtyard, much like the commander's house, but its purpose is healing, not luxury. The layout is designed for efficiency and sanitation. You walk down a long corridor with small rooms, opening off on either side. These are the wards where the sick and wounded would rest. Each room is designed for only a few patients, preventing the overcrowding that spreads disease in civilian hospitals. Large windows ensure good ventilation, as Roman physicians understood that fresh air was important for recovery, even if they didn't know why dot in the center of the complex is a surgical theater, a room with good lighting where the Medici would perform their work. You see the specialized surgical tools they used, a testament to their advanced knowledge. Bronze and iron scalpels of various shapes and sizes, forceps for extracting arrowheads, probes for exploring wounds, and fine-toothed saws for amputations. These instruments are surprisingly sophisticated, many of their designs not to be improved upon for over 1,000 years. The hospital also has its own kitchen for preparing special foods for the patients, its own bath suite for hygiene, and even a medicinal herb garden in the central courtyard. The Roman army understood that a healthy soldier was an effective soldier, and they invested heavily in the infrastructure of care. But for all its organization, the hospital was still a place of immense suffering. The ever-present threat of infection meant that even the most skilled surgery was a gamble. You feel a wave of gratitude for the sterile, pain-free world of modern medicine as you let this image of the Roman hospital fade away. Now, let's walk through the heart of the camp, towards the barracks where the soldiers lived. On the way, we pass the fabrique, the workshops. The air here is filled with the sounds and smells of industry. The rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer on an anvil, the hiss of hot metal being plunged into water, the sharp scent of burning coal. Here, the Legion's skilled artisans, the immunes, soldiers excused from normal duties because of their special skills work to maintain the army's equipment. You see blacksmiths forging new spearheads and repairing damaged armor plates. You see leather workers stitching new tents and mending worn-out sandals. You see carpenters building furniture for the officers' quarters and repairing wagon wheels. This was a self-sufficient community, capable of producing almost everything it needed to function. The skill of these artisans was as vital to the legion's success as the fighting prowess of the legionaries themselves. Finally, we arrived at the barracks. The fort is divided into 10 sections, one for each cohort. Within each cohort section, there are 6 long, narrow buildings, one for each century. And each of these long buildings is divided into 10 smaller units, the contubernia. The 8-man rooms where our journey began. Let's step back inside one of these rooms. We felt its crampedness, smelled its unique aroma. But let's look closer at the details of daily life. At one end of the room is the sleeping area, with its 4 double bunks made of wood. At the other end is the storage area for the men's armor and equipment. The 8 massive scuda, the shields, are stacked against one wall. Helmets are hung from pegs. The men's heavy marching packs, the sarcinae, are neatly stowed. The order and cleanliness are absolute, enforced by the centurion's daily inspections. You notice the small, personal touches amidst the military uniformity. A small, crudely carved wooden bird tucked into a corner of a bunk, a memento of home. For a young recruit, a set of dice and a worn leather cup for gambling, hidden beneath a loose floorboard. A collection of smooth, colored stones on a small shelf, the hobby of a soldier with a keen eye. These small things are the evidence of the individual lives lived within this rigid, collective system. Your breathing is slow and deep. The sounds of the blacksmith's hammer and the sight of the cramped barracks fade from your mind. There is only the quiet of your room, the comfort of your bed. You are sinking deeper, letting go, drifting peacefully. Let us turn our gaze to the rhythm of the year, the cycle of the seasons as experienced by a soldier on the frontier. Life was not a monotonous stretch of identical days. It changed dramatically. With the weather, winter was a time of enclosure and endurance. Once the heavy snows began, campaigning ceased. The Legion settled into its stone fortress for a long, cold hibernation, but it was not a time of rest. The primary enemy during winter was not a barbarian tribe, but boredom and the cold. Imagine the fort under a thick blanket of snow. The world is white and silent. The temperature plummets, and a relentless, bone-chilling wind blows from the dark forests of Germania. Your duties shift. The daily routine of marching and digging is replaced by an endless cycle of maintenance and indoor training. You spend hours polishing your armor, fighting off the rust that thrives in the damp winter air. You repair your equipment, restitching the leather straps of your sandals, reinforcing the handle of your shield. The fabrique, the workshops, are busy all winter, their forges glowing in the gloom as the blacksmiths repair damaged weapons and forge new ones. Training moves indoors, into the large cross hall of the Principia. You practice your sword drills, the thrusting motion against the wind stake, over and over again, until your arm aches. You practice formations, moving as a unit in the enclosed space, the commands of the centurion echoing off the high stone walls. Guard duty is the worst part of winter. Standing on the wall for a 4-hour watch in the freezing wind is a true test of endurance. You wrap yourself in your thick wool cloak, the sagum, and pull your leather hood over your helmet, but the cold is insidious. It seeps through every layer. Your feet grow numb inside your caligae. Your fingers, even in gloves, become stiff and clumsy. You stamp your feet and pace back and forth on the wooden walkway, trying to keep your blood circulating. You stare out into the swirling snow, watching for any movement, though you know no sane enemy would attack in such weather. The greatest danger is falling asleep, succumbing to the drowsy, deadly embrace of hypothermia. Your own bed feels so warm, so incredibly comfortable. The thought of that freezing watchtower makes the simple pleasure of your blankets feel like the greatest luxury in the world. To combat the winter gloom, The army relied on routine and festivals. The festival of Saturnalia in late December was a particularly welcome break. For a few days, the usual strict hierarchies were relaxed. Officers might serve meals to the enlisted men. Gambling, normally forbidden, was officially permitted. There was extra food, extra wine. It was a brief, chaotic, and much-needed release from the discipline and monotony of winter garrison life. Spring arrives slowly, hesitantly. The first sign is the sound of dripping water as the snow on the rooftops begins to melt. The days grow longer, the sunlight a little warmer. The frozen river begins to break up, great sheets of ice groaning and cracking as the current reasserts itself. With the spring thaw comes a new burst of activity. The entire fort is given a thorough cleaning. The barracks are aired out. The old straw from the mattresses is burned and replaced. It is time to prepare for the campaigning season. The training intensifies. The marches zoom first short, then longer, as your body reacclimatizes to the strain. You spend long days on the campus, practicing complex battle formations, shield wall drills, and rapid deployments. The air is filled with the shouts of centurions, the clash of wooden swords against wicker shields, the thud of practiced javelins hitting their targets. This is also the season for major construction projects. With the ground no longer frozen, work can begin on new roads, repairs to the fort wall, or the construction of a new watchtower along the frontier line. The Legion's dual identity as a fighting force and a construction corps is on full display. Summer is the time of war. The weather is warm, the ground is dry, and the days are long. This is the campaigning season. Your Legion might be ordered to march deep into enemy territory on a punitive expedition, or to establish a new line of forts, pushing the border of the Empire ever forward. Life on the march is grueling. You rise before dawn, eat your meager breakfast, and march 20 miles. Under the hot sun, carrying your 100-pound load. You build a fortified camp every single night. You are always tired, always thirsty, always vigilant. The heat is a constant torment. Your metal armor becomes scorching hot. Sweat runs in rivers down your body, and the wool of your tunic chafes. Your skin raw. Dust kicked up by thousands of marching feet coats everything, getting into your eyes, your nose, your mouth. You forage for food when you can. Wild berries, roots, a fish caught from a stream, any small addition to your monotonous grain ration is a welcome treat. But you must be careful. Some local plants are poisonous, and the consequences of a mistake can be fatal. This is also the season of greatest danger. You are in hostile territory. Every forest, every valley could hide an ambush. The psychological strain is as exhausting as the physical march. You learn to sleep lightly, your hand never far from the hilt of your GLADIGOS. Autumn is a time of transition. The campaigning season ends as the weather grows cooler and the days shorter. The Legion returns to its permanent base. The main focus now is the harvest. The farms that supply the fort must bring in their crops of wheat and barley before the first frosts. Soldiers are often assigned to help with the harvest, their disciplined labor ensuring that the winter stores are full. There is a sense of urgency in the air, a race against the coming cold. You work from sunrise to sunset, swinging a scythe through the golden fields of grain. The work is hard, but there is a satisfaction in it, a connection to the cycles of the earth that reminds you of your life before the army. Once the harvest is safely stored in the Horia, the fort begins its final preparations for winter. Roofs are repaired, firewood is stockpiled, and equipment is given a final, thorough maintenance check. There is a feeling of winding down, of a collective exhalation after the intensity of the summer campaign. You sit with your comrades around the fire in the evenings, sharing stories of the summer's adventures, remembering the close calls, honoring the fallen. The first snowflakes of winter might drift down, a quiet reminder that the cycle is beginning again. Your own breathing is a slow, gentle cycle, in and out, like the turning of the seasons. But your world is not one of hardship and relentless labor. It is one of peace, of comfort, of rest. You are safe from the summer heat and the winter cold. You are simply drifting comfortably into a deep and restorative sleep. Let us sink even deeper now, into the mind of the soldier, into the beliefs and values that allowed him to endure such a life. What did a man like Gaius believe in? What gave his life meaning? The core of his identity was Raman. Even as a recruit from Gaul, the moment he took the oath of service, the sacramentum, he became part of Rome. He swore to obey his officers, to never desert his post, and to defend the emperor and the state with his life. This oath was a sacred bond, the foundation of the army's unbreakable discipline. The values drilled into him were the traditional Roman virtues which meant more than just virtue. It meant courage, manliness, excellence in all things. A soldier showed virtues not just by fighting bravely, but by enduring hardship without complaint, by performing his duties perfectly. Then there was disciplina. This was the soul of the legion. It was the absolute obedience to orders, the perfect execution of formations, the meticulous maintenance of camp and equipment. It was the understanding that the individual was subordinate to the unit, that the good of the legion came before personal comfort or fear dot, and finally pietas, a sense of duty. Duty to the gods, duty to the emperor, duty to your comrades, and duty to Rome itself. This sense of duty was what motivated a man to stand his ground in the shield wall when every instinct screamed at him to flee. It was what motivated him to stand a freezing watch on the wall while his comrades slept out. These were not just abstract concepts. They were a daily practice, reinforced by the centurion's mind staff and the entire structure of military life. But beneath this official ideology, there was a more complex world of personal belief. Consider the reality of slavery in the camp. High-ranking officers, like the legatus and the tribunes, owned personal slaves who acted as their servants, cooks, and administrators. The centurions, too, often had one or two slaves to manage their affairs. Even some common soldiers might pool their money to buy a slave to handle the most menial chores for their contubernium. These slaves were often captives from recent wars. You might see a proud Germanic warrior who just weeks ago was fighting for his tribe's freedom, now forced to clean his Roman master's armor, or a woman from a conquered village, now serving wine in an officer's tent. Their presence was a constant, visible reminder of the stakes of warfare and the brutal reality of Roman power. As a soldier, you were part of the system that created this slavery. It was an accepted, unquestioned part of your world. The thought of such injustice feels distant now, a problem from a long-dead world. Your mind is focused only on the gentle sensation of relaxation, on the easy rhythm of your breath. The economic life of the frontier was also a world unto itself. The legion was the single largest economic engine in the province. The soldiers' pay, though small individually, represented a huge influx of cash into the local economy. The vicus, the civilian town outside the fort, existed almost entirely. To capture some of this cash, you see merchants selling goods that the army does not provide, better quality wine, different kinds of food, pottery, glass, cheap jewelry. You see craftsmen setting up workshops to repair soldiers' personal items, or to create custom pieces for wealthy officers. You see tavern keepers, food vendors, and prostitutes, all providing services that catered to the soldiers' desires for comfort and escape. The presence of the legion completely transformed the local landscape and economy. Forests were cleared for timber and to create defensive clearings around forts. Swamps were drained for farmland. Roads were built, connecting previously isolated areas. Local tribes who once practiced subsistence farming might begin producing surplus grain or cattle to sell to the army. Their entire way of life could be altered by the proximity of this massive Roman institution. You, as a soldier, are a participant in this transformation. Your daily work, your small purchases in the vicus, your very presence here on the frontier, all are threads in the vast, complex tapestry of Roman imperialism, but these are large, abstract thoughts. For the soldier on the ground, life is about more immediate concerns. Will the next patrol be peaceful? Will the rations be sufficient? Will the letter from home ever arrive? Let's imagine you receiving one of those rare letters. It arrives in a leather pouch, carried by a military courier, who has traveled for months. The letter itself is written on a thin sheet of wood or a piece of papyrus. The ink is faded. You take it to a quiet corner of the barracks and write it slowly, your lips moving as you decipher the words. It is from your sister. She tells you of the news from your village. Your father's health is failing. The harvest was poor this year. A childhood friend has married. She asks when you will be coming home, and you have to write back, knowing your letter will take months to reach her, telling her that you cannot come home, that your duty is here on this distant frontier for another 15 years. The sense of distance, of separation, is immense. You are living in a different world, a world your family cannot possibly imagine. And their world of village life, of seasons and harvests, is becoming a distant memory to you. This is the personal cost of your service, the slow severing of the ties that once defined your life. Let the feeling of that soldier's loneliness drift away. You are not on a distant frontier. You are safe in your own bed, in your own time. Your mind grows quiet, letting go of the past. You are sinking deeper into a peaceful, dreamless state. And so the years pass. The seasons turn. Winters of cold and boredom, summers of heat and labor. The routine of the legion becomes the rhythm of your life. You cease to be Gaius the farmer from Gaul. You are Gaius the legionary, Gaius the veteran. Your identity is forged in the discipline, the camaraderie, and the shared hardship of the army. You no longer fear the centurion's staff. You understand its necessity. You no longer dream of home with the same painful longing. The Legion is your home now. You no longer see the local tribes as savage barbarians, but as a people with their own ways, their own strengths. You have seen the best and the worst of humanity. You have seen acts of incredible courage in battle, men sacrificing themselves to protect their comrades. You have also seen acts of incredible cruelty, the grim realities of conquest and subjugation. You have learned that the world is not a simple place of heroes and villains, but a complex tapestry of gray and through. It all you have endured. You have done your duty. You have held the line. Finally, after 25 years, your service is done. You are a man in your late 40s, your body scarred, your spirit tempered by a lifetime of military service. You receive your diploma, your savings, your plot of land. You are free. You build your farmhouse, not with the rough haste of a temporary camp, but with the careful skill of a master builder. You cultivate your land, your hands finding a familiar comfort in the soil. You marry, and you have children. And sometimes, on a quiet evening, you sit outside your home, watching the sunset paint the sky with colors of fire and gold. You see the first stars appear, the same stars you watched during countless lonely nights on the frontier walls. And you think back on your long journey. You remember the fear of the new recruit, the ache of the laborer, the terror of the battlefield, the boredom of the garrison. But you also remember the pride of building a bridge, the warmth of the campfire, shared with your contubernales, the quiet satisfaction of a watch well kept. It was a hard life, the grim reality. But it was your life, and it had meaning. You were a Roman soldier, and the world you now inhabit, this peaceful corner of the empire, was built and defended by men like you. With this final peaceful thought, you let the story go. The world of ancient Rome fades completely, dissolving into the gentle darkness of your own quiet room. Your journey is over. All that is left is the deep, profound peace of restorative sleep. Your breathing is slow, your body is heavy, your mind is still. You are completely and utterly at rest. Sleep now. Sleep well, Dot, of course. Let us continue our journey, sinking even deeper into the intricate details of the Roman soldier's world. The story of a life is not just in its major events, but in the texture of the everyday, the weight of the tools, and the quiet moments between the trumpet calls. As you lie in the serene comfort of your bed, let your mind drift back one last time to explore the very substance of this ancient reality. Let us begin with the objects that define the legionary's existence, the tools of his trade that were his constant companions, as intimate as his own skin. We have spoken of his armor and his pack, but let us now feel their reality with a new, more focused slowness. Let us examine the arsenal of Gaius, piece by painstaking piece. Consider first the heart of his identity as a soldier, the gladius, specifically the gladius hispaniensis of the early empire, later evolving into the Pompey type you would have carried. It is not the long, elegant sword of a medieval knight or the curved scimitar of an Eastern warrior. It is a short, brutally practical tool of conquest. The blade itself is roughly 2 feet long, leaf-shaped, or with parallel edges, and designed with one primary purpose in mind: the thrust. Your breathing is slow and deep, a peaceful rhythm in the quiet of your room. You can almost feel the imagined weight of the sword, that your own hands are light, resting comfortably at your sides. The centurion, in those endless training sessions, would have screamed the reason into your ears. A slash can be turned by bone or armor, his voice would rasp. A slash leaves you open, your arm extended, but a thrust ... A thrust of only 2 inches can kill a man. Find the gaps. The belly, the throat, the groin. Thrust, kill, recover. That is the Roman way. And so you practiced for thousands of hours against the wooden stake, the palus, until the short, sharp, economical thrust was an extension of your own will. The hilt of your gladius is made of wood or bone, shaped to fit your hand perfectly. It is not ornate. It is functional. There is a round guard to protect your hand and a heavy pommel to balance the weight of the blade. You would have spent hours maintaining this weapon. The blade had to be kept sharp, not with a razor's edge for slashing, but with a wicked point for piercing mail or flesh. It had to be kept clean and oiled to ward off the ever-present threat of rust. Especially in the damp climates of Britannia and Germania, the sword lived in its scabbard, the vagina, which was a work of art in itself. 2 pieces of wood glued together, covered in thin leather, and reinforced with a brass or iron frame. It was often decorated with embossed plates of silver or bronze, a small area where a soldier could express some individuality, some pride. It hung high on your right hip, a position that seems awkward to us, but which was perfectly designed to be drawn swiftly without interfering with your large shield. The scutum held in your left hand. The constant, gentle pressure of the sword against your hip was a reminder of who you were and what you were trained to do. Then there was the pilum, the Roman javelin. This was not a light throwing spear. It was a heavy, cleverly engineered weapon. That was often the deciding factor in the opening moments of a battle. It was nearly 7 feet long and consisted of 2 parts, a thick wooden shaft and a long, thin iron shank that ended in a small, pyramid-shaped head. The genius of the pilum was in its construction. The iron of the shank was left soft, not hardened. When you threw it just before the charge, it would fly through the air with tremendous force. Upon hitting an enemy's shield, The small, hard tip would punch through the wood and leather. The soft iron shank behind it would then bend under the momentum of the heavy wooden shaft. This had two devastating effects. First, it made the pilum impossible for the enemy to pull out of his shield and throw back at you. The bent shank held it fast. Second, the weight of the 7-foot spear, now dangling from the enemy's shield, made the shield incredibly heavy and unwieldy. The enemy warrior would be forced to discard his shield, leaving him vulnerable to the advance of the legionaries with their short swords. A volley of hundreds of pila descending on an enemy formation just before the clash was a terrifying sight, a shower of iron that crippled the enemy's primary defense. You spent weeks learning the proper technique for throwing it a short run, a twist of the body, a release of energy that sent the heavy spear arching towards its target. Your body feels so wonderfully heavy and relaxed now, sinking into the mattress. The imagined strain of hurling a heavy javelin makes the effortless stillness of your own limbs feel deeply peaceful. And what of the great shield, the scutum? It was your portable wall, your safe space in the chaos of battle. It was a large, curved, rectangular shield, standing nearly 4 feet high. It was not a simple plank of wood. It was constructed like ancient plywood with 3 thin layers of wood glued together, each layer's grain perpendicular to the next. This made it incredibly strong for its weight. The entire shield was then covered in canvas or felt, and the edges were bound with iron or bronze to prevent splitting. The front of the shield was often painted with the emblem of your legiona: lightning bolt, a bull, a boar, a symbol of collective identity that was a source of immense pride. In the center was a large iron boss, the umbo. This wasn't just for decoration. It protected your shield hand, and it could be used as a weapon itself, a brutal, punching blow to an enemy's face to create an opening for your gladius. Holding the scutum was a skill in itself. The handle was a single horizontal grip behind the boss. You held it with a firm fist, your arm bent. The shield's curved shape was designed to deflect blows, and its height protected you from your knees to your eyes. In formation, you would lock your scutum with those of your comrades, creating the famous testudo, the tortoise formation, an armored shell that was nearly impervious to arrows and other projectiles. Carrying this 20-pound shield all day, on the march, holding it up for hours during a battle, was a true test of strength and endurance. Let us consider your helmet, the Galea. The design evolved over the centuries, but in your time, it would likely be of the Imperial Gallic or Imperial Italic type. It was a masterpiece of protective engineering. Made from iron or bronze, it had a rounded bowl to deflect blows, a reinforced ridge across the brow, large cheek guards that protected your face without obscuring your vision, and a wide, sloping neck guard at the back. The neck guard was particularly important, protecting you from downward sword strokes and preventing rain from running down your back. Inside the helmet was likely unpadded. You would wear a separate padded cap of wool or leather underneath to cushion blows and absorb sweat. Even so, a heavy blow to the helmet could leave your ears ringing for days. For all its protection, it was hot, heavy, and loud. The sound of the world was muffled, and the noise of your own breathing was amplified. It was an isolating experience, cutting you off from the world and encasing you in your own small metal bubble. And finally, we return to the caligay, the hobnailed military sandals. Let's look closer at their construction. They were made from a single piece of thick leather, cleverly cut and folded. The sole was made of 3 layers of leather, and it was into this that the iron hobnails were hammered. A single boot could have between 80 and 100 of these conical iron studs. These hobnails provided excellent traction on soft ground and were incredibly durable. The sound of a legion marching on a paved Roman road was a terrifying, rhythmic thunder that announced the arrival of Roman power. But the hobnails were also a source of constant misery. They conducted the cold directly to the solace of your feet in winter. They became scorching hot on desert sand in summer. And on long marshes, they could cause painful stone bruises. The open design of the caligay meant your feet were constantly exposed to dust, mud, and water. This, combined with the risk of blisters, meant that foot care was a critical part of a soldier's personal discipline. Every evening, you would inspect your feet, clean them carefully, and tend to any hot spots before they could become debilitating blisters. A soldier who could not march was a liability to his unit and was treated with little sympathy as you lie in your bed. Your own feet are warm and comfortable, free from the brutal realities of Roman military footwear. You can feel the softness of your sheets, a world away from the rough leather and hard iron hobnails of the caligay. Your entire body is at peace, letting go, drifting not now. Let the details of the arsenal fade. Let the weight of the armor dissolve, the sharpness of the sword grow dull in your mind. We turn our attention to the aftermath of a battle, a part of the soldier's life that is rarely depicted in heroic tales. The battle is won. The enemy has broken and fled. The trumpets have sounded the victory call, but the work is far from over. The moments immediately following a battle are a period of controlled, disciplined activity, a grim accounting of the costs of victory. The first priority is to secure the field. Your centurion's voice, hoarse from shouting commands during the fight, rallies your century. You reform your ranks, a difficult task as men search for their comrades and the adrenaline of combat begins to fade, replaced by a deep, shaking exhaustion. Sentries are posted around the perimeter of the battlefield. The enemy may have fled, but a desperate, surprise counterattack is always a possibility. Then the tending of the wounded begins. The capsari, the battlefield medics, move across the field with a grim efficiency. They perform a brutal triage. Those with obviously fatal wounds are given a sip of water and made as comfortable as possible, but no time is wasted on them. Those with minor wounds, cuts, and bruises are given a quick cleaning and bandage and are expected to help with the other tasks. The medics focus on the seriously wounded who have a chance of survival. A man with a shattered leg, another with a deep chest wound, another with an arrow protruding from his shoulder. These men are carefully lifted onto stretchers and carried back to the temporary field hospital that has been set up behind the lines. Their groans of pain are a constant low chorus beneath the commands of the officers. Your own task is even grimmer. You're a part of the detail assigned to account for your legion's dead. You walk slowly across the battlefield, a place that just an hour ago was a chaotic whirlwind of violence, but is now strangely silent. You look for the familiar emblems on the shields, the specific markings of your cohort, your century. You find the body of young Quintus, the recruit who was once so homesick. He lies with his eyes open, staring at the gray sky, a barbarian spear having found its way past his shield. You kneel beside him, your throat tight. You knew him. You shared your food with him, helped him with his armor, listened to his quiet stories of his family's farm. Now he is gone. You gently close his eyes and retrieve his personal effects, the small wooden bird from his pouch, the silver ring his mother gave him. These will be sent back to his family, if they can be found. You and your comrades carry his body, and the bodies of the other fallen, to a designated area. The work is slow, heavy, and heartbreaking. Each body is a man you knew, a story cut short. While you tend to your own, other units are dealing with the enemy. Roman practice was unsentimental. Wounded enemy combatants were typically killed where they lay. It was considered a mercy, a release from suffering, but it was also a practical matter. The army had no resources to care for enemy wounded. The enemy dead were usually stripped of any valuable weapons or armor, and then left for the carrion birds. This was not an act of malice, but a simple reality of ancient warfare. The spoils of war are then gathered. Under the supervision of the quaestor, the legion's financial officer, soldiers methodically collect every usable piece of enemy equipment. Swords, spears, shields, helmets, all are gathered into piles. Any gold or silver found on the bodies of enemy chieftains is carefully collected. This loot, the preta, belongs to the Roman state, though a portion of it will be distributed to the soldiers as a bonus, a reward for their victory dot as evening falls. The funeral pyres are built. The bodies of your fallen comrades are laid upon them. A senior officer gives a brief speech, praising their courage and their sacrifice for Rome. The torches are lit, and the pyres are set ablaze. You stand with your comrades, watching the flames leap into the night sky, your face lit by the flickering orange light. The smell of burning wood and something else, something sweet and terrible, fills the air. There are no tears. A Roman soldier is not supposed to show such emotion. But a deep, heavy silence settles over the assembly. You feel a profound sense of peace in your own quiet room. The grim images of the battlefield fade. There is no fire, no smell of death, only the calm, safe darkness around you. Your breathing is slow and steady, a gentle anchor in the present moment. After the pyres have burned down, the ashes of the fallen are collected and placed in urns for burial. Then life must go on. The next day, the Legion will continue its march, or begin the work of building a new fort. The dead are mourned, but they are left behind. The army moves on. The psychological toll of this experience is immense. In your dreams, you will see the faces of the dead. In the quiet moments of the night watch, you will hear the screams of the wounded. You learn to live with these ghosts. You push them down, bury them under the relentless routine of daily duty. But they are always there, a part of who you are now. Sometimes, after a major victory, the commander might be granted a triumph by the Senate in Rome. This is the ultimate military honor, a massive parade through the city to celebrate the victory. You, as a simple soldier, would likely not participate directly, but the news of it would reach your frontier post months later. You would hear how the general rode in a golden chariot, how the captured enemy chieftains were paraded in chains, how the spoils of war were displayed for the cheering crowds. This is the glorious public face of the war you fight. But it has little to do with your reality. Your reality was the mud, the fear, the blood, and the quiet, heartbreaking work of burying your friends. You understand that the glory of Rome is built upon a foundation of countless such grim, forgotten moments on distant battlefields. Let these thoughts of battle and its aftermath dissolve now. They are just stories, echoes from a time long past. Your own world is one of peace. Your own body is whole and at rest. Your mind is quiet, letting go of the day's concerns. Let's turn our attention to one final, deep aspect of the soldier's life, the landscape of the mind. How did a man like Gaius, living a life of such external hardship and discipline, navigate his own internal world? Literacy was not universal in the Roman army, but it was surprisingly common. The bureaucratic nature of the military required a certain level of reading and writing. Centurions had to file reports. Quartermasters had to keep records. Even a common soldier might need to be able to read orders posted on a notice board. For those who could write, letters were a lifeline, a fragile connection to the world outside the Legion. Imagine Gaius, now a veteran, sitting in his small room in the fort. He is writing a letter to his younger sister, whom he has not seen in 10 years. He does not use paper, which is expensive. He uses a thin wooden tablet, a tabula, a small piece of wood hollowed out and filled with blackened beeswax. He takes a stylus, a sharp metal or bone instrument, and begins to scratch his words into the wax. His large, calloused hands, so used to holding a sword and a shovel, look awkward holding the small, delicate stylus. He writes slowly, carefully. forming the letters. He tells her that he is well, that the weather is cold, that he hopes the harvest was good on the family farm. He does not write about the fear, the boredom, or the ghosts of his dead friends. Such things are not for letters. He keeps his words simple, practical, reassuring. When he is finished, he will take another wooden tablet, place it over the first, and tie them together with a string. He will then find a merchant traveling south and pay him a small fee to carry the letter. With luck, it will reach his sister in 3 or 4 months. Her reply will take just as long to return. This slow, uncertain communication is all he has. The archaeological discoveries at Vindolanda, Fordham Hadrian's Wall, have given us an incredible glimpse into this world of military correspondence. Hundreds of these thin wooden leaf tablets have been preserved in the damp soil. They contain official military reports, supply requests, and most movingly, personal letters. A soldier writes home asking for warmer socks. An officer's wife invites a friend to her birthday party. A merchant complains about the poor quality of a recent shipment of grain. These small, everyday documents bring the reality of frontier life into sharp focus. They show us people grappling with the same human concerns we have today: friendship, family, work, the weather, all within the extraordinary context of the Roman army on the edge of the known world. Your own mind is growing quiet, the need for communication fading as you drift deeper into the stillness of sleep. Your thoughts are like those ancient letters, fading into the peaceful earth, leaving only calm behind. Religion, as we've discussed, provided a framework for meaning. But beyond the grand ceremonies and the secret cults, there was a daily, personal relationship with the divine. Every soldier had his own small superstitions, his own personal rituals for ensuring good fortune. Before a long journey, you might make a small offering at the shrine of the genius loci, the spirit of the place, a local god who protected travelers in that region. Before gambling with dice, you might whisper a quick prayer to Fortuna, the goddess of luck. You might have a favorite god from your home province, whose name you murmur in times of stress. These small acts of faith were a way of imposing a sense of order on a chaotic and unpredictable world. They were a way of feeling that you had some small measure of control over your own destiny, even when you were subject to the absolute authority of your officers and the whims of fate. In the Vicus, you might see a small temple dedicated to a healing god like Asclepius. If you were suffering from a nagging injury or a persistent illness, you might leave a small offering there, a coin, a small clay model of the afflicted body part. You might then spend the night sleeping in the temple, hoping the god would visit you in a dream and reveal a cure. This practice, known as incubation, was a common form of faith healing throughout the Roman world. It was a fusion of medicine and religion, a recognition that healing the body often required soothing the mind and spirit as well. These rich, complex spiritual lives of the soldiers are a world away from the simple, monolithic image of Roman power we often see. The legion was not just a machine of iron and discipline. It was a community of human beings, each with their own hopes, fears, and beliefs, each seeking comfort and meaning in their own way. Let the images of these ancient faiths fade now. The gods are silent, the temples are ruins. There is only the quiet, steady rhythm of your own breathing. You are safe. You are at peace. Your body is completely relaxed, your mind completely still. You are on the very edge of sleep. Let us return one last time to Gaius, the veteran, in his farmhouse in Britannia. He is an old man now. His children are grown and have families of their own. He spends his days tending to his small farm, his movements slow and deliberate, his body shaped by a lifetime of labor and old injuries. He sits outside his home in the evening, watching the sun set behind the green hills. The landscape is peaceful. The wars are a distant memory. He is surrounded by the fruits of his long service, his land, his home, his family. He has lived a life that is almost unimaginable to us. He has seen the heights of Roman power and the brutal realities that sustained it. He has known the bonds of camaraderie and the depths of loss. He has endured hardships that would break most modern people dot, and now, at the end of his life, he has found a measure of peace. His is not a story that would be told in the epic poems or recorded in the annals of emperors. It is a simple, common story. The story of an ordinary man who gave his life to the service of an extraordinary empire, and who, against all odds, survived to enjoy a quiet old age. His story, and the stories of millions of men like him, is the true foundation upon which the Roman Empire was built. Not on the genius of generals or the ambitions of emperors, but on the relentless, disciplined, day-to-day endurance of the common Legionary. And now, it is time for you to rest. The long journey through the Roman soldier's world is over. You have felt the weight of his armor, the ache of his labor, the fear of his battles, and the quiet contentment of his final years. You can let it all go now that your mind is calm and empty. Your body is heavy and deeply relaxed. You are floating in a peaceful, warm darkness. The story is finished. History is sleeping. All that is left is the profound stillness of your own deep rest. Let the last vestiges of thought drift away like smoke on the wind. Let your consciousness dissolve into the gentle, welcoming void of sleep. Sleep now. Sleep deeply. Sleep well. Let us return to the fundamental reality that governed every soldier's day: hunger. We have spoken of the monotonous diet of the legionary, but to truly understand his world, we must immerse ourselves in the intricate details of the annona militaris, the military food supply. It was a system as vast and complex as any battle plan, a logistical triumph that fed hundreds of thousands of men across a continent. Imagine yourself again as Gaius, the recruit standing in line for your daily ration. The air is cold and you shift from foot to foot, your stomach a hollow ache. The dispensator, the man in charge of doling out the food, stands before a massive pile of sacks in the fort's granary. He does not give you bread, he gives you grain. He scoops a measure of hard, dry wheat kernels into a leather pouch you hold open. This is your primary wage, the food that will keep you alive. The responsibility for turning it into something edible is entirely yours. Your breathing is slow and even. You feel the immense comfort of your own life, where food is a simple pleasure, not a daily chore of manual labor. Back in your contubernium, the 8-man tent group that is your home. The process begins. The small, heavy hand mill, the mola manuaria, is brought out. It consists of 2 circular stones, one set atop the other. It is your turn, along with young Quintus, to do the grinding. You pour a portion of the hard wheat kernels into a hole in the top stone. You both grab the wooden handle and begin to turn. The work is grueling. The stones are heavy, and the friction of crushing the grain requires immense physical effort. Round and round you push, your shoulders and back straining. The sound is a constant, grating scrape of stone on stone, a sound that fills every evening in the camp. It takes what feels like an eternity of this back-breaking work to produce a small pile of coarse, brownish flour. It is nothing like the fine, white flour you might imagine. It is gritty, full of bran, and probably contains small fragments of stone from the mill itself. While you are grinding, another tent mate, Marcus the veteran, is tending the fire. He has managed to find some dry wood, a small luxury. He nurses the flames with a practiced hand. Another soldier, Decimus, is mixing yesterday's flour with water and a little salt in a wooden bowl. He kneads the sticky dough with his calloused hands, then shapes it into small, flat discs. These discs are then cooked on a hot, flat stone placed at the edge of the fire, or on a small iron grill. This is your panis militaris, your military bread. It is dense, tough, and often slightly burnt on the outside and undercooked in the middle, but it is hot and it is filling. This, along with the pulse, the thick wheat or barley porridge, is the bedrock of your diet. Day after day, week after week. This is your food. It is calorie dense, designed to fuel a soldier's body for hard labor, but it is soul-crushingly monotonous. The lack of variety is a form of psychological hardship. You dream of the food from your childhood home, the soft bread your mother used to bake, the stews rich with vegetables from your family's garden, the taste of fresh fruit picked from a tree. Your mind lets go of these thoughts of bland food. A feeling of deep gratitude for the variety and flavor in your own life washes over you, deepening your sense of relaxation. You are comfortable, well-fed, and at peace. Of course, a soldier's diet was not always so limited. When possible, it was supplemented. The army understood the importance of variety for morale and health. On campaign, you would forage. You would learn from the veterans which wild berries were safe to eat, which mushrooms would not kill you, which roots could be boiled to make a passable stew. In a permanent fort, the situation was better. The army maintained its own herds of cattle and sheep, providing meat on a semi-regular basis. This was not the prime cut of a steak, but tougher cuts boiled for hours in a stew. But it was meat, and the rich flavor of the fatty broth was a welcome change. The fort would also have a garden where vegetables like beans, lentils, and cabbage were grown. And then there was the vicus, the civilian town. Here, you could spend your own money to buy luxuries. A piece of smoked sausage from a Gallic butcher, a handful of sweet dried dates from a Syrian merchant, a honey-sweetened cake from a baker's stall. These small purchases were a powerful reminder of the world of choice and pleasure that existed outside the rigid discipline of the Legion. They were a taste of the civilian life you hoped to one day return to. The diet of the officers was, of course, a different matter entirely. While you ate your coarse bread and porridge, your centurion Longinus would dine in his own quarters on better fare. And the Legion's commander, the legatus, lived in a world of supreme culinary privilege. Imagine being on guard duty outside the praetorium. The commander's villa-like house, the smells wafting from the kitchen are almost torturous. You smell roasting duck, sizzling fish seasoned with exotic spices, and the sweet, complex aroma of wine imported from Italy. You hear the sounds of a dinner party, the laughter of the commander's wife, the murmur of polite conversation, the gentle music of a lyre played by a skilled slave. This is the world you are defending, the world of Roman civilization and luxury. But it is a world from which you are completely excluded. The contrast between the commander's feast and your own meager meal is a stark reminder of the rigid hierarchy of Roman society. You are a tool, a piece of the machine, and your function is to ensure that the man in the grand house can enjoy his roasted duck in peace. You do not resent this. It is the natural order of things, but the smell of that duck will linger in your memory for a long time. Let the smells and tastes of the Roman world fade. Your own senses are turned inward now to the feeling of your body at rest. Your breathing is slow and steady. You feel a gentle warmth spreading through your limbs. You are safe and comfortable, sinking deeper into a peaceful state of profound relaxation. Let us now explore the social world of the soldier, a world governed by laws and customs that seem strange to us today. Consider the matter of love and family. For the entire duration of your 25-year service as a common legionary, you were legally forbidden to marry. This policy, instituted by the Emperor Augustus, was a practical one. The army needed to be a mobile force, unencumbered by the logistical complications of wives and children. An army with families is an army that is slow to move and difficult to relocate. So, For a quarter of a century, you were officially a bachelor, but the law cannot erase human nature. The need for companionship, for intimacy, for family is a fundamental part of the human experience. And so an entire unofficial world grew up in the shadow of this official prohibition. In the vicus outside the fort, you would find not just merchants and tavern keepers, but countless women and children. These were the unofficial families of the Legion. Many soldiers formed long-term, stable relationships with local women from the provinces where they were stationed. A soldier from Spain might form a partnership with a Celtic woman in Britannia. A soldier from Thrace might live with a Dacian woman on the Danube frontier. These relationships were not legally recognized as marriage. The woman was not a Roman citizen. The children born of this union were considered illegitimate and did not automatically inherit their father's citizenship. Yet, in every other respect, these were families. Imagine Gaius after several years of service. He is lonely. He is tired of the rough, all-male environment of the barracks. In the vicus, he meets a local woman, perhaps a weaver's daughter named Boudica. She is strong and independent, with a sharp wit and eyes the color of the misty British sky. They begin a relationship. He cannot live with her. He must remain in his barrack room. But on his infrequent days of leave, he visits her small home in the vicus. He brings her gifts, a piece of pottery, a silver brooch bought from a traveling merchant. He gives her money from his meager pay to help support her. In time, they have a child, a son with his Roman features and her Celtic red hair. This is his family. He is a father and a husband in all but name, but his life is divided. He lives under the strict discipline of the Legion, but his heart is in the small wooden house in the chaotic settlement outside the walls. This dual existence was the reality for thousands of Roman soldiers. The army's commanders often turned a blind eye to these unofficial families. They understood that these relationships were essential for morale. A soldier with a family in the vicus was less likely to desert, more likely to fight hard to defend the fort that was his family's home. The children of these unions often grew up to become soldiers themselves, creating a new generation of recruits with deep ties to the army. But the legal status of these families was precarious. If the Legion was suddenly redeployed to a different province, the soldier would be forced to leave his unofficial wife and children behind. Sometimes families would try to follow the Legion, a long and perilous journey. More often, they were simply abandoned. It was a cruel but accepted part of the system. The only hope was to survive the 25 years of service. Upon discharge, a veteran was finally allowed to legally marry. He could marry his long-term partner, and his children would be retroactively legitimized, granted Roman citizenship along with him. This was the ultimate goal, the promise that sustained these frontier families through decades of uncertainty. You lie in your bed, you're breathing deep and even. The complexities of Roman family law feel very distant. Your own world is one of clear relationships, of acknowledged love, of recognized family. You feel a sense of peace and security, a gratitude for the simple certainties of your own life. The law governed other aspects of a soldier's life as well. While on duty, you were subject to military law, which was swift and harsh. But what about disputes between soldiers? What if Decimus, the gambler in your tent, cheated you out of your money? You would not go to a civilian court. You would go to your centurion. The centurion was the first level of the military justice system. He was the judge and jury for most minor offenses within his century. He would listen to your complaint here, Decimus's side of the story, and then render a judgment. His primary goal was not abstract justice, but maintaining the discipline and cohesion of the unit. His punishment might be extra duties, a docking of pay, or a public flogging with his vitus. His word was final. To appeal a centurion's judgment, was to risk being seen as a troublemaker, which could have serious consequences for your career. For more serious crimes, theft from a comrade, desertion, mutiny, the punishment was more severe and the trial more formal. You would be brought before the legion's commander, the legatus, who would convene a military tribunal of his senior officers. The verdict here could be a dishonorable discharge, flogging, or execution. There was little room for legal maneuvering. The evidence was presented and a swift judgment was made. The Roman army valued order above all else, and any threat to that order was dealt with ruthlessly. Your body sinks deeper into the mattress, melting into a state of profound relaxation. The harshness of Roman justice fades from your mind. There are no tribunals, no punishments. There's only the gentle, quiet safety of your own space, to cope with the uncertainties of life and the inevitability of death. Soldiers created their own support systems. One of the most important of these was the burial club, or collegium funeratitium. You would pay a small amount from your salary each month into this club. In return, if you died in service, the club would ensure that you received a proper burial. This was incredibly important to a Roman. To be left unburied on a battlefield was a terrible fate, your spirit doomed to wander restlessly. The burial club guaranteed that your comrades would recover your body, perform the correct funeral rites, and erect a tombstone with your name, your rank, and your years of service. It was a promise that you would not be forgotten. These collegia often served as social clubs as well. They would hold feasts on festival days, providing a sense of community and belonging outside the strict military hierarchy. They were a space where soldiers could be more than just cogs in a machine, where they could be individuals who cared for one another's welfare, both in this life and the next. Let your mind drift away from these thoughts of life and death, of law and community. Let the ancient world recede, its complexities dissolving into the simple, peaceful darkness of the present moment. Your breathing is the only rhythm now, slow and deep and steady. Each breath is a soft wave, carrying you further and further. Away from the waking world. Let us now imagine that final glorious and terrible spectacle of the Roman military world, the triumph. Imagine that you, Gaius, have survived not just any war, but a major campaign. A war that has brought a new province into the empire or crushed a dangerous enemy. Your commander, a famous and ambitious general, has been granted a triumph by the Senate in Rome. Your legion is to march in the parade. After months of travel, you finally arrive at the outskirts of Rome, the capital of the world. It is a sight that takes your breath away. It is a sprawling metropolis of marble and brick, a chaotic, noisy, and vibrant city unlike anything you had ever seen. For a soldier who has spent his life on the quiet, orderly frontiers, the sheer scale and energy of Rome is overwhelming. The day of the triumph is a public holiday. The entire city shuts down. Crowds line the streets, packed a dozen deep, their voices a constant roar of excitement. You and your comrades have spent days polishing your armor until it gleams like the sun. Your helmet has been fitted with a horsehair crest. Your shield is freshly painted. You have been given new tunics of brilliant white. The procession forms outside the city walls. It is a massive undertaking, an entire army on display. At the front are the senators and magistrates of Rome in their white togas. Then came the trumpeters, their horns blaring. Then come the spoils of war, a parade of immense wealth that dazzles the eye. Carts are piled high with captured enemy weapons, golden armor, silver statues, and precious jewels. Other carts carry massive paintings depicting scenes from the war. City under siege, a great battle, the surrender of the enemy king. Then come the most important captives, the defeated enemy chieftains and their families. They walk in chains, their heads held high in defiant pride or bowed in utter despair. The crowds jeer and throw things at them. This is the brutal theater of Roman power, a public display of the fate that awaits those who defy the empire. Your own body feels light and peaceful, free from the roiling emotions of the Roman crowd. You are simply resting, observing this ancient story from a place of deep calm and safety. Finally, your legion appears. You march in perfect formation, your hobnailed sandals thundering on the stone-paved streets. The crowd roars its approval. They throw flowers in your path. You hold your head high, your shield polished, your gladius at your side. You are no longer an anonymous soldier on a distant frontier. You are a conqueror, a hero of Rome. The feeling is intoxicating, a powerful surge of pride that makes all the years of hardship and suffering worthwhile. Dot at the head of your legion rides your commander, the triumphator, and a golden chariot drawn by 4 white horses. He wears a purple toga, like the ancient kings of Rome, and his face is painted red to resemble the statue of Jupiter. A slave stands behind him in the chariot, holding a golden crown above his head, but also whispering in his ear, "Memento mori," remember that you are mortal. It is a reminder that even in this moment of ultimate glory, all men are subject to fate. The procession winds its way through the streets of Rome, passing the great monuments, the Colosseum, the Forum, the temples of the gods. It is a long, slow journey, lasting the entire day. The sun beats down. The noise of the crowd is deafening, but you feel no fatigue. You are carried along by the energy, by the pride, by the sense of being part of something immense and historic. The procession finally reaches its destination, the capital in hell, the sacred heart of Rome. Here, the commander ascends to the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus to make a sacrifice and dedicate the spoils of war to the god Dot. At this point, the darkest part of the ritual takes place. The most important enemy captive, the defeated king, is led away to be ceremonially strangled in the state prison. His death is the final act of the victory, a demonstration that the enemies of Rome will be utterly destroyed. After the sacrifice, the soldiers are dismissed. A great feast has been prepared for the army. You eat and drink your fill, celebrating your victory with your comrades. The wine is rich and plentiful, the food more lavish than anything you have ever tasted. That night, you lie in a temporary barrack in Rome, your mind still reeling from the day's events. You have seen the power and the glory of Rome in all its magnificent and terrible splendor. You have been a part of it, but as you lie there in the darkness, other images come to your mind. The face of young Quintus staring sightlessly at the sky, the screams of the wounded in the field hospital, the somber glow of the funeral pyres. You understand now that the glorious spectacle of the triumph is a sanitized version of the truth. It is a story told for the people of Rome, a story that leaves out the dirt, the fear, and the immense human cost of conquest. The true story of the war is not in the golden chariots or the cheering crowds. It is in the quiet, unmarked graves of soldiers on a distant frontier. It is in the scars on your own body and the ghosts in your own mind. You finally understand the full meaning of your life as a soldier. You are a guardian of peace, but you are also an instrument of brutal conquest. You are a builder of civilization, but you are also a destroyer of other cultures. You are a hero of Rome, but you are also a simple man who has endured unimaginable hardship. Your breathing is the only rhythm now, a slow, peaceful wave in the quiet of your room. Let the complex, contradictory world of Rome fade away. Let go of the glory and the grime, the pride and the pain. You are not Gaius. You are not a soldier. You are here now in your own bed. You are safe, you are comfortable, and you are ready for sleep. The story is over. The long journey through the life of a Roman soldier has come to its final, quiet end. There's nothing more to explore, nothing more to learn. There's only the deep, restorative peace of this present moment. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the mattress, a comforting, grounding sensation. Feel the warmth of your blankets, a gentle embrace. Listen to the quiet sound of your own breathing, the softest and most soothing lullaby. Your mind is calm. Your body is at rest. You are drifting now on a gentle tide toward the shores of deep sleep. Let go of everything. Just float. Allow the peaceful darkness to welcome you. Sleep now. Sleep deeply. Rest well. As you float in the serene space between wakefulness and dream. Let us return one last time to the world that shaped Gaius. We have seen his life, his work, his fears, and his triumphs. But the soldier was part of a machine, an empire, whose very bones were made of stone and mortar, whose sinews were roads and aqueducts. To truly understand the soldier, we must understand the world he built and inhabited. Let us begin with the foundation of all Roman power, the road. Imagine yourself not as a soldier marching, but as an observer watching the very creation of a Roman road, a via militaris. The process is a testament to the Roman genius for order, engineering, and relentless labor. It begins not with a shovel, but with a surveyor, an agrimensor, who uses a simple but effective tool called a groma. It is a cross of wood mounted on a staff, with plumb lines hanging from the end of each arm. With this tool, the engineer can lay out perfectly straight lines for miles across the landscape, and precise right angles. The legionaries, your comrades, begin by clearing a wide swath of land, felling trees, clearing brush, and leveling the ground. Then comes the digging. They excavate a shallow trench, the fossa, sometimes several feet deep, marking the boundaries of the road. The discipline is incredible. Men work in lines, their shovels and pickaxes moving in a steady rhythm. The earth is moved in woven baskets, passed from hand to hand. Then the layers are built. This is the secret to the longevity of Roman roads. The reason some still exist 2,000 years later. The first layer, the stadamen, consists of large, flat stones, tightly packed to create a stable foundation. You watch as legionaries, their backs straining, lift and place these heavy stones, fitting them together like a great, rough mosaic dot. Your own body feels wonderfully light, free from such back-breaking labor. Your breathing is slow and deep. Each exhale a release of all tension, all effort. Over this foundation of large stones, a second layer is spread, the rudis. This is a thick layer of smaller stones, pebbles, and gravel mixed with mortar or sand. This layer is pounded down, compacted, until it is incredibly dense and hard. The sound of hundreds of soldiers using heavy wooden tampers to pound the rudis is a deep, rhythmic, almost hypnotic thudding that echoes across the landscape. On top of the rudis comes the third layer, the nucleus. This is a finer layer of gravel, sand, and cement, almost like a primitive concrete. It is spread carefully and leveled, creating a smooth, hard surface. Finally, the top layer is laid, the summum dorsum or pavimentum. On major highways, this consists of large, polygonal paving. Stones, expertly cut to fit together with minimal gaps. The surface is not flat, but is built with a slight camber, a gentle curve that allows rainwater to drain off into the ditches that run along either side of the road. The result is a masterpiece of engineering. A road that is straight, durable, and well-drained. A road that can carry the weight of marching legions, heavy supply wagons, and fast-moving imperial couriers. It is more than just a road. It is a statement of power, a line of Roman order drawn across a wild landscape. And it was built by the hands of soldiers like Gaius, men who were as skilled with a shovel and a level as they were with a sword. A shield. This construction work was not a break from their military duties. It was a fundamental part of them. It kept the men busy and disciplined, and it created the very infrastructure that allowed the army to move and to conquer. Now, Let us imagine a different kind of construction on a different frontier. You are now in northern Britannia on the great project that will become known as Hadrian's Wall. The Emperor Hadrian has decided that the empire will expand no further. This wall will be the limes, the permanent border of the Roman world. You're a part of a team of legionary stonemasons. Your task is to quarry the hard gray stone from the nearby hills. You use iron wedges and heavy mallets to split the rock along its natural fault lines. It is slow, painstaking work. The stone is stubborn, and the sound of your hammer striking the wedge is a sharp, ringing crack in the cold, windy air. Other teams transport the quarried stone on heavy carts drawn by oxen. Still others are tasked with mixing the mortar, a precise combination of lime, sand, and water. You stand on the partially completed wall, a structure 10 feet wide and 15 feet high. You are a builder, carefully setting the cut stones in place. The wind whips at your tunic, and a cold, fine drizzle, so common in this land, seeps into your cloak. You look north across a desolate landscape of brown hills and gray sky. This is the edge of the world. Beyond lies the land of the unconquered Caledonian tribes, a place of mystery and danger. The wall snakes across the landscape, following the contours of the hills. It is a monumental undertaking, stretching for over 70 Roman miles from coast to coast. Every few miles, a small fort, a mile castle, is built into the wall, large enough to house a small garrison. And between each mile castle, 2 evenly spaced turrets provide observation posts for the sentries. Your work is not just building the wall itself. You are also building the vallum, a massive, flat-bottomed ditch dug to the south of the wall, flanked by high earthen mounds. This was not a defensive structure against the north, but a boundary marker, a line that separated the military zone of the wall from the civilian province of Britannia to the south. Your shoulders and arms ache with the effort of lifting the heavy stones. Your fingers are raw from the rough texture of the rock and the abrasive mortar. But as you look back along the section of wall you have helped to build, you feel a sense of immense pride. This wall will stand for centuries. It is a permanent declaration of Roman power, a line drawn on the earth that says, "Here, the civilized world ends and the barbarian world begins." You are a single, anonymous soldier, but your hands have helped to build one of the greatest engineering marvels of the ancient world. You are a guardian of the frontier, not just with your sword, but with the stone and mortar you have laid with your own hands. Let the image of the cold, windswept wall fade from your mind. Feel the warmth of your bed, the gentle comfort of your blankets. Your body is at rest, free from the hard labor of the Roman engineer. Your mind is quiet, drifting peacefully. Let us now turn our attention to the other side of that wall, to the people the Romans called barbarians. To understand the soldier, you must understand the world he was tasked with controlling. Let us imagine Gaius, now an experienced Optio, on a long-range reconnaissance mission deep into the forests of Germania. Beyond the Rhine, the patrol moves with a stealth and silence born of long experience. You are not on a Roman road now. You are following game trails, your senses on high alert. The forest is dark and primal. The trees are so tall and their canopy so thick that very little sunlight reaches the forest floor. The air is damp and smells of moss and decaying leaves. After several days, you come to a clearing where a Germanic tribe has its village. You observe from a hidden position. The village is a chaotic cluster of large wooden longhouses surrounded by a simple wooden palisade. There is no grid pattern, no sense of Roman order. You watch the people. They are tall and powerfully built. The men have long hair, often fair or red, sometimes bleached with lime to look more fearsome. They wear trousers made of wool or leather and simple tunics. They are armed with long spears called framia and large round or hexagonal wooden shields painted with fierce symbols. They do not wear armor except for the chieftains, who might have a simple iron helmet or a mail shirt, likely traded from or taken from Romans. Their society seems to be organized around the warband, the comitatus. A charismatic chieftain is surrounded by a group of elite warriors who have sworn personal loyalty to him. They fight for his glory, and in return, he provides them with weapons, food, and a share of any plunder. This is a world of personal honor and loyalty, very different from the impersonal, state-sponsored discipline of the Roman legion. You watch their daily life. Women are tending to small plots of barley and rye. They are skilled weavers, producing brightly colored woolen cloth. Children, looking wild and free, play with dogs and practice with small wooden spears. The men are either hunting, training for war, or engaged in what seems to be a constant series of loud, alcohol-fueled gatherings. Their drink of choice is a strong, cloudy beer, and they consume it in vast quantities from large drinking horns. Their feasts are boisterous affairs, full of storytelling, boasting, and occasional violent quarrels. It seems to a Roman eye to be a life of chaos, of unrestrained passion, a stark contrast to the sober discipline of your own world, yet you also see signs of a complex culture. They are skilled metal workers, producing beautiful, intricate jewelry. Their bards sing long epic poems about the deeds of their ancestors and gods. They have a deep reverence for the forest, making offerings at sacred groves and springs. Realize that these are not the mindless savages of Roman propaganda. They are a proud, resilient people, perfectly adapted to their harsh environment. Their way of life is different, but it has its own logic, its own strengths. They value personal freedom and honor above all else, and they will fight fiercely to defend it against the encroaching order of your empire. This understanding does not make them less of an enemy, but it makes them a more respected one. They are the chaos to your order, the wilderness to your civilization, and you are the wall that stands between the two. Your breathing is slow and deep. The dark, ancient forests of Germania fade away, replaced by the safe, quiet darkness of your own room. You are at peace, embraced by a stillness that knows no enemies, no borders. Let us explore another corner of the soldier's world, the complex web of relationships and legalities that govern his personal life. We have touched upon the unofficial families in the Vicus. Let us now consider the life of the woman, like the fictional Boudica we imagined for Gaius, who shared her life with a soldier. For her, life was in a constant state of limbo. She was not a Roman citizen. Her relationship with Gaius was not a legal marriage. She lived in the Vicus, a civilian settlement that was entirely dependent on the fort, but not officially part of it. She was part of the army's world, but she was also an outsider. Her daily life was one of hard work. She might take in laundry from other soldiers, or help run a tavern, or weave cloth to sell in the market. She would save the small coins Gaius gave her, slowly building a small reserve against the constant uncertainty of her life. Her greatest fear was the sound of the trumpet signaling a redeployment. If Gaius's legion was ordered to move to another province, she faced an impossible choice. Should she try to follow him, a long and dangerous journey with no guarantee of safety or support at the other end? Or should she stay behind, losing her partner and the father of her child, and face an uncertain future alone? Many women in her position simply stayed, absorbed back into their local communities, their Roman children a living reminder of the empire's fleeting presence. But if she and Gaius endured, if he survived his 25 years, then came the reward. On the day of his discharge, he could legally marry her. In a simple ceremony, he would take her as his wife, and in that moment, she and all of their children would instantly become Roman citizens. This was a transformative event. It gave her legal rights she had never known. She could own property. She was protected by Roman law. Her children were no longer illegitimate. They could inherit their father's property and his status as a citizen. The long years of waiting, of uncertainty, were finally over. They could settle on their plot of land as a recognized Roman family, the foundation of a new generation of citizens on the frontier. This process, repeated thousands of times across the empire, was one of the primary ways that Roman culture and identity spread, not through conquest, but through these personal, long-term relationships between soldiers. And provincial women thought your eyelids feel heavy, so heavy. The complex social and legal structures of the Roman world dissolve. There is only the simple reality of your own comfort, the soft weight of your blankets, the steady rhythm of your breath. You are sinking deeper into sleep. Let us return for a final detailed exploration to the aftermath of battle. We have seen the grim work of accounting for the dead, but what of the living? What of the captured enemies and the spoils of war? After the battlefield has been cleared, the captured enemy combatants are rounded up. Their fate depends on their status. A captured chieftain or king might be kept alive, destined to be paraded in chains in a general's triumph in Rome. This was the ultimate humiliation, a public display of his defeat. But for the common warrior, the future was grim. Most were sold as slaves. The army was followed by slave traders, men who profited from the human misery of war. You would see them haggling with the quaestor over the price of a healthy Germanic warrior, who might end up working in a silver mine in Spain or as a gladiator. In an arena, you watch this process with a professional detachment. These men were your enemies just hours ago. Now they are property, a commodity to be bought and sold. It is the brutal economy of conquest. The spoils of war are meticulously catalogued. Every captured shield, every sword, every piece of jewelry is recorded by the scribes. This loot, the preda, is technically the property of the Roman people. A portion of it will be sold, the proceeds going into the legion's treasury or the imperial coffers. Another portion will be distributed to the soldiers as a donative, a bonus payment. The size of this donative depended on the success of the campaign and the generosity of the commander. A generous general was a popular general, and this was an important way for ambitious commanders to secure the loyalty of their troops. You might receive a few extra denarii for your part in the victory. You might use it to buy a better quality wine in the Vicus, or to send a small gift to your family, or you might simply add it to your savings. Another small step towards your eventual retirement. After a few days, the army moves on, leaving behind a battlefield that is strangely quiet. The bodies of the enemy have been stripped and left for the wolves and crows. The funeral pyres of your own comrades have burned down to ash. The ground is scarred and trampled, littered with the debris of battle-broken weapons, discarded equipment, the dark stains of blood. The legion marched away, leaving the landscape to its silence. But the memory of the battle remains, carried in the minds of the survivors. This is the unseen spoil of war, the psychological burden that every soldier carries. But now, it is time for you to let go of this burden. The stories are finished. The world of the Roman soldier in all its detail, its hardship, and its quiet dignity has been explored. There's nothing left to see, nothing left to learn. Your journey is complete. You have reached the final destination, a state of deep, peaceful, and restorative sleep. Your mind is quiet and still. Your body is heavy and completely relaxed. The last remnants of thought drift away like smoke, dissolving into the peaceful darkness. You are safe. You are comfortable. You surrender completely to the gentle, overwhelming pull of sleep. Sink down now, deeper and deeper, into the perfect silent embrace of the night. Sleep well. Imagine the scene not in the bustling 2nd century of Gaius's prime, but much later. The sun is setting on the western Ramung Empire. It is the late 4th century. Gaius the veteran is long gone, his bones resting in the earth of the Britannic farm he earned with his 25 years of service. But his legacy continues. Let us now be in the mind of his grandson, another Gaius, also a soldier, but a soldier of a very different kind of army in a very different kind of world. He is returning on leave to the family farmstead his grandfather built. The farm is still here, a small pocket of cultivated land nestled in the rolling green hills, but the world around it has changed. The great Roman road he travels on is no longer the pristine marvel of engineering it once was. The paving stones are cracked and uneven, with grass growing through the gaps. The milestones are faded, their inscriptions worn away by centuries of wind and rain. The drainage ditches are clogged with silt. It is still the best road in the region, a testament to the skill of the long-dead legionaries who built it, but it is a road that is slowly, quietly being reclaimed by nature. There are fewer patrols now, and he keeps a watchful eye for bandits, a threat that was rare in the heyday of the Pax Romana. Your breathing is slow and even, a peaceful tide carrying you deeper into calm. The worries of a crumbling world are far away. There is only the safety and stillness of this present moment. When he finally arrives at the farmstead, the house his grandfather built still stands strong, its stone walls thick and reassuring. But the atmosphere of the province is different. There is an undercurrent of anxiety, of uncertainty. The local town, which was once a bustling hub of Roman life, is quieter now, some of its houses abandoned. The great villas of the wealthy landowners have fortified their walls, looking less like comfortable country estates and more like small private forts. That evening, sitting by the fire with his father, who now runs the farm, the younger Gaius speaks of his life in the Legion. And it is a story that his grandfather would barely recognize. The Legion is not what it was in the old Thales, he says, staring into the flames. We are still the shield of the Empire, but the shield is dented, and the arm that holds it grows weary. He describes his equipment. The iconic Lorica segmentata, the segmented iron plate armor, is gone. It was too complex and expensive to maintain. Now he wears a simpler suit of Lorica hamada, chainmail, much like the Gauls his ancestors conquered. It is heavier and offers less protection against a direct thrust, but it is easier to produce and repair. His sword is not the short, stabbing gladius. It is the spatha, a longer slashing sword, better suited for fighting on horseback or from more open, chaotic combat against Germanic warriors who do not fight in tight formations. His shield is no longer the great rectangular scutum, but a large, flat, oval shield, easier to carry but offering less protection in a shield wall. The pilum, the heavy shield-breaking javelin, has been replaced by lighter throwing spears and weighted darts called plumbita. The army he serves in is still called the Roman army, but it looks and feels different. It has adapted, out of necessity, to a new kind of warfare, a new kind of enemy. Your body feels so wonderfully heavy and at ease. The thought of different kinds of armor, of changing tactics, is just a collection of quiet facts, a gentle story that requires no effort, no thought. You simply listen and you relax. His father, the son of the first Gaius, listens quietly. He has heard these stories before. He asks about the men in the Legion. They are good fighters, the young soldier says. Strong and brave, but they are not like grandfather's comrades. He describes the new recruits. Fewer and fewer are coming from Italy or the old settled provinces of Gaul and Spain. More and more are Goths, Franks, Alemanni men from the very barbarian tribes the army once fought against. They are recruited as foederati, allies who fight for Rome in their own tribal units under their own chieftains. They are excellent warriors, but their loyalty is often to their commander and the promise of pay, not to the abstract idea of Rome. The army is becoming a patchwork of different cultures, different languages, different gods. He tells of life on Hadrian's Wall. Where he is stationed, the wall still stands, a magnificent, crumbling monument to a more confident age. But it is no longer the impregnable frontier it once was. There are not enough men to garrison it properly. Sections of it have fallen into disrepair. The mile castles and turrets are often manned by small, isolated groups of soldiers who feel more like watchmen waiting for disaster than proud guardians of an empire. The threat from the north is constant. The Picts, the painted people, raid across the wall in small, swift bands attacking farms, stealing cattle, and then melting back into the misty hills before a proper response can be organized. The Legion is always on the defensive, reacting, rather than commanding, a feeling that would have been alien to the legions of Trajan or Hadrian. He speaks of the changes within the fort itself. The old temple to Jupiter and the shrine to the emperor's spirit are still there, but they are neglected, their altars dusty. The real spiritual center of the camp is now the new Christian church, a simple stone building where the growing number of Christian soldiers gather for their services. He himself is a Christian, as are many of the new recruits. The old gods of Rome, the gods his grandfather prayed to, now seem like figures from a distant, half-forgotten story. The Mithraeum in the Vicus is abandoned, its underground chamber now probably home to rats and spiders. The cult of Mithras, once so powerful within the army, has faded, replaced by this new faith that speaks of one God, of humility, and of a kingdom not of this world. Your breathing is the only rhythm now, slow and deep and peaceful. The rise and fall of empires, the clash of old gods and new, these are just distant echoes. All that matters is the simple, profound reality of your own body at rest. The young soldier's story is one of a world in transition, a world where the old certainties are dissolving. The empire is still vast, its bureaucracy still functions, its armies still win battles. But there is a sense of fragility, of a long, slow twilight setting in. The unshakable confidence of the earlier empire has been replaced by a more anxious, defensive posture. He tells of the economic troubles. The currency has been debased so many times that the old silver denarius is now a small, thin coin with very little actual silver in it. Taxes are crushingly high, as the state struggles to pay for its massive army and bureaucracy. Many small farms across the empire are being abandoned, their owners unable to pay the taxes, choosing instead to become tenants on the vast estates of the wealthy. A new form of CRFD. This is the world he must navigate, a world of shifting allegiances, of economic instability, of spiritual change. He is still a Roman soldier, but what it means to be a Roman soldier is different now. The promise of a secure retirement on a peaceful plot of land is no longer a certainty. The world is too unpredictable. He finishes his story, and a long silence settles over the room, broken only by the crackling of the fire in the hearth. His father looks at him with a mixture of pride and worry. Pride in his son's courage and dedication, and worry for the dangerous, uncertain world he inhabits. Your grandfather, the father says finally, believed that Rome was eternal. He gave his life to it, believing that the order he was defending would last forever. And I? The young soldier asks quietly, what do I believe in? You believe in your comrades, his father replies. You believe in your duty to protect the innocent. You believe in doing the best you can in the time you have been given. Some things do not change, my son. Let us leave them there in the warm, firelit room of the ancient farmhouse, a family contemplating the long, slow currents of history. Let us drift away from their worries, their quiet conversation, and sink into a deeper state of peace. Imagine the very texture of this late Roman world. The feel of a debased coin, light and thin in your hand. The sight of a once great road, its paving stones askew. The sound of a church bell mingling with the older, pagan sounds of the countryside. The sight of a soldier whose armor is a mix of old Roman patterns and new Germanic styles. This is a world of collage, of patched together things. A world of making do. A world of holding on. Your own world, the world of your bedroom, is whole and complete. The air is still. The darkness is a soft, uniform blanket. Your body is a single, unified sensation of warmth and relaxation. There are no crumbling edges, no sense of decay, only a deep and abiding peace. Let's explore another corner of this fading world. Let's look at the city of Rome itself in this later period. It is no longer the undisputed center of the universe. The emperors rarely live there now, preferring to rule from military capitals closer to the frontiers, like Milan or Trier, but Rome is still a place of immense symbolic power and of staggering contrast. The great monuments are still there. The Colosseum, though its gladiator games are less frequent now. The Forum, its temples and basilicas are still impressive, though some are falling into disrepair. The magnificent public baths, where citizens can still enjoy the luxury of hot water and social gathering, but alongside this grandeur, there is decay. Parts of the city are becoming depopulated. The great aqueducts that once supplied the city with fresh water are not maintained as well as they once were. The complex sewer system sometimes breaks down. The population is smaller, less confident than it was in the age of Augustus or Trajan, and the culture has changed. The old Roman virtues of stoic discipline and public duty are being replaced by new concerns. Christianity, now the official state religion, preaches humility, charity, and a focus on the afterlife rather than on earthly glory. The great noble families are still wealthy, but their wealth is often spent on building magnificent churches rather than on funding public works. The army, too, has a different relationship with the city. In the early empire, legions were forbidden from entering Rome itself. It was a civilian space. Now, the emperor's personal guard is often made up of elite Germanic warriors, a visible sign of how the empire has come to rely on the military strength of the very people it once called barbarians. This is a world in flux, a world where the past is still powerfully present, but the future is uncertain. It is a world of memory and anxiety, of faith and doubt. Let your mind drift away from this complex, changing world. It is just a story, a collection of images and ideas. You can let them go now. You can allow your mind to become as still and quiet as an abandoned temple in the Roman Forum at midnight. Your breathing is the only thing that is real at this moment. A slow, steady, effortless rhythm. Each breath is a gentle wave, washing away the last remnants of thought, the last echoes of the ancient world. You are sinking deeper, deeper into the profound stillness of sleep. Let's imagine one final thought, one final image from the perspective of our old veteran Gaius, had he lived to see this transformation. Imagine him in his final days, sitting outside his farmhouse, wrapped in a thick wool cloak against the chill of a British evening. He looks at his own hands, gnarled and scarred from a lifetime of work and warfare. He thinks about the world of his youth, a world of unshakable confidence, of clear purpose, a world where to be Ramon was to be a master of the universe. He remembers the gleam of perfectly polished armor, the thunder of a legion marching on a perfectly built road, the sight of the silver eagle held high against a clear sky. That world, he realizes, is gone. His grandson's world is different. It is a world of compromise, of adaptation, of holding on. A world where the lines are blurred, where barbarians serve in the Roman army, where the old gods are fading, where the great monuments are slowly crumbling. He feels a pang of sadness, a sense of loss for the world he knew. But then another feeling rises. He looks at his farmhouse, built with his own hands. He thinks of his children and his grandchildren, who are strong and resilient, who are navigating this new, more complex world with courage and intelligence. And he understands something profound. Rome is not just stone and marble. It is not just legions and emperors. It is an idea of law, of order, of a shared civilization. And that idea, he realizes, is more durable than any wall or any temple. It can adapt. It can change. It can live on in new forms. He feels a sense of peace. His life was not wasted. He was a guardian of that idea. He held the line, and in doing so, he gave the world time to change, to evolve into something new. His part in the great story is over. He is tired. He is ready to rest out, and with that final peaceful thought, he closes his eyes. And now you too can close your eyes and rest. Your journey is over. You have witnessed the entire arc of this Roman world, from its confident prime to its long, slow twilight. You have felt its hardships, understood its complexities, and shared in its final, peaceful acceptance of change. There is nothing more to see, nothing more to think about. Your mind is quiet. Your body is deeply, profoundly relaxed. You are floating in a warm, safe, and silent darkness. The story has ended, and all that is left is the deep, restorative peace of your own sleep. Let go now, completely. Drift away on the gentle tide of your own slow breathing, deeper and deeper, into the perfect stillness of the night. Sleep well.